This is my big sister, Stacey, and this is Sisters Social Call.
We are two sisters talking about everything that sisters talk about. Welcome to our lives. Well, hey, sissy.
Hey, sis.
You're here.
I'm here.
Awesome.
Made it.
We want to welcome all our listeners back to Sisters Social Call and say a special hello to our new listeners. Today, we're talking about our experience at PodSummit YYC 2025. This is a Canadian podcasting conference with the mission to create unparalleled podcaster-first events that bring together the Canadian podcast community to celebrate the art of storytelling and to create a collaborative focal point where podcast communities and industry can come together to exchange ideas, interact, and learn from one another. PodSummit was an opportunity for Chrissy and I to get focused on what we really want to do with this podcast. Do we want to keep it as a hobby, or do we want to grow our audience and perhaps start looking for advertising opportunities? We just really didn't know what we wanted to do next. So Chrissy and I are going to share with you our 2 days of this conference, but you must stick around because we have questions for you, our listeners, about where you want to see our podcast go over the next year. Sis? How about you begin with going over what happened at day one of PodSummit?
Okay, well, I'm certainly glad that you made us some notes today because there was so much. We didn't even really know what to expect with PodSummit. We saw the lineup. It was exciting, lots of topics that we really wanted to hear, we really wanted to talk about. Like Stacey said, we thought if we go to this will help give us some clarity in the direction we really want to go. And also, I think that we're both really loving doing the podcast. And so why not go meet other people, podcasters? So Day one started off with Jesse Lipscomb. His keynote was titled The Art of Doing. He got up there and he talked a lot about, the whole idea of you just got to get out there and start. And you're going to experience some roadblocks. You're going to be turned down. You're going to experience some failures, some disruptions, and it's not going to be totally smooth sailing in anything that you do, as that is not how life works. And he really got up there and just was so passionate about his chat and his talk and just how, he really wanted just to really drive it home that if you want something, go get it. Anybody can. Anybody has the capability of going after their dreams. And of course, this is something that we all know, but it is so powerful to be reminded when somebody so passionate is up there just telling it to you. He's an actor, he's an athlete, he's a lot of things. And experienced a lot of hardships and a lot of, I don't want to say failures, but he's experienced a lot of being told no a lot or not being accepted for a role. And he's never let that get in the way of him continuing on and moving forward and just saying, well, I wasn't meant for that role, and continuing on and carrying on. And I think that was really important. It's important to hear people talk about that. He was just incredible, and just a really good way to start the whole PodSummit off. It was awesome.
He really resonated with you because of how many interests and hobbies and professions he has.
Well, yeah, he's just like me, where the hamster wheel never stops. It's just on full bore all the time. He kind of lives with that whole idea of there's all these things he wants to do in his life, and he just wants to ensure he gets them all done in the time that he's here. I believe he was also the one that said in his keynote how everybody says life is short, but in all actuality, life is the longest thing you will ever do. And that really strummed a chord with me as well.
Pretty profound way to think about life.
But I think the way to spin it is time goes by fast. I don't want to say life is short because I'm a believer of what you say becomes that I don't want life to be short. So I'm changing that up. He inspired me. Time goes fast.
I love that, sis.
Time goes fast. Anyway, after that, there was a presentation Understanding the Canadian podcast listener, sponsored by Signal Hill. So monthly podcast consumption has reached all-time high at 46%. That is up from 39% in the previous year. This is exciting to see that kind of growth in 1 year. But even more exciting is that there is so many more people that aren't listening. This is an untapped audience. So for you that are new to listening to podcasts, thank you for helping grow this sector. And for your friends that don't listen yet to podcasts, share ours. Yeah, don't hesitate to do that. Like if you enjoy a podcast, you like the podcast, please share them. Anyway, there's also a movement away from Apple Podcasts to YouTube. So, question 1 for our listeners. If you aren't an Apple or Spotify subscriber, where are you listening to your podcasts? We'd love to know this.
Yeah, and we will definitely post this on Instagram too this week. So if you see the survey or see the question, please answer this for us. This is really going to help us focus where we are going to put our feed to. We will get to YouTube. But if there's other platforms you're listening to podcasts on, we got to know that.
Yeah, so we can extend our reach as well.
Mm-hmm.
I found that part of that part of the PodSummit very interesting. Just those statistics are always good to hear. I'm not a big nerdy statistics person, but when it applies to something that we're doing or something that really relates to me in my life, then it's interesting to me.
I am very nerdy. And the statistics were so exciting.
After that, Stacey and I went and had lunch. And then we came back and then we had a super fascinating discussion with this gentleman. He's a YouTuber and he's also a podcaster. And his name is Jeremy Lee. Jeremy Lee has become well known in the sports card collection sphere. He started his foray into YouTubing by live streaming his purchases of collector's cards. These are sports cards. He encouraged us to start doing lives. So here's question number 2 for all of you. And don't worry, we will sum up these at the end so you don't forget. Second question, do you guys want us to do live streams?
This makes me want to puke, this idea of doing live streams. Chrissy's totally down with it. So this is why we need to hear from you guys if this is something that you would like to see us do, because it makes me sick to think about it. But that's just my nerves. So Chrissy's into it. I'm not. But
such a great conversation with him. Very inspiring. He's very passionate about his hobby, which in fact has turned, he was an accountant and he has left his accounting job and does the card thing full time. Not just necessarily podcasting and live streaming. He also does hosts auctions, and he's a pillar in the sport card community in many different facets.
Mm-hmm.
So he was very cool. That's kind of more my jam, is when I can just kind of corner somebody and just start asking a lot of questions. I love that more than big group conversations. That is where I thrive. One-on-one, bring it on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so then we moved into podcasting with power, purpose, and authenticity. It was a panel that included the one and only Jan Arden. They also had the podcasters from Late in 88 join the panel for that as well. So that was a very interesting conversation. But the biggest takeaway that I got from the entire panel was Jan Arden, and when she said that in her life now, she lives without doubt. I can't stop thinking about it. Think about that. Live your life without doubt. Anyways, I thought that was a very profound thing to say. And I mean, she's very humble. Again, the same thing too. Just be yourself, be authentic. Be you. That's what's going to make your podcast stand out from the next one. And that's what's going to make that's what's going to bring your listeners, your viewers to you. The ones that are specifically, that's your community. The more, and it's easier to be authentic than it is to try to be something you are not. I love the conversation because I am that. I feel I embody that entirely in my life. I'm authentic. I am empathetic. I am passionate. I live life intensely. And when they were talking about it, it just affirmed that the best practice is to be your truth and your true self and to do it wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we were into rethinking podcasting in the age of video and AI. Woo-wee. Big discussion about AI. Stacey had some thoughts and questions about this, so I'm actually going to turn it over to her because she does all the editing. She's more hands-on in that realm of things for us. So tell us your thoughts, sis.
Well, I just want to put some context out there for our listeners. Right before the Pod Summit, there was an article about a company claiming to be generating about 3,000 podcasts a week with AI. And it is called AI slop. And I feel strongly that's exactly what that is. But like all things with generative AI, it is going to get better and better. So this led me down a path wondering how much proactive disclosure we should be having about our use of AI in the production of our podcast. Chrissy and I had a walk and talk about this. I use it sometimes to help flesh out ideas on ChatGPT. And I definitely use it in our editing software to remove like ahs and ums and long pauses. I use it to generate our transcript and sometimes our show notes and keywords. Oh, and I have used it periodically to edit a word in our podcasts. So it like auto dubs our voices. And sometimes I've had to like correct a word. That's all it will allow me is one word at a time. So we use it, but not a lot. What you're getting is me and Chrissy. You're not getting a fully produced podcast of AI. And I think that obviously shows with our listeners know that this is us and who we are.
And generally speaking, I got the vibe from everybody at the podcast summit. The majority of podcasters would use AI in the very similar situations.
Mm-hmm.
But what really makes the podcast exciting and fun for us that are podcasters is that we're creating a podcast. So it's not super heavily used in the podcast world. As in what we saw and the people that we encountered at Pod Summit. And let me tell you, there was a lot of big name Canadian podcasters there. So the general consensus is it's used as a tool to help simplify some of the editing in podcasts, but it's not used to create entire podcasts. Anyways, so we had one final panel on day one with Jeremy Lee, who we talked about earlier. And then we watched a live podcast recording of CBC's Crime Story with host Kathleen Goldhar and guest Jana Pruden. Many of our listeners will recognize the name Jana Pruden. Jana was a local reporter for the Regina Leader Post. Canadians love true crime podcasts. This is something we learned. The true crime category lands in the top 3 of all categories. And if you want to listen to a fascinating podcast, give Jana Pruden's In Her Defense a listen. It's a Globe and Mail podcast.
Yeah, I just finished it. And I'm not really a true crime podcast fan because it just it's pretty sometimes very disturbing. But this story that she shares in her defense, she has I think 2 seasons, but one of them, the one that I listened to was a story about an Alberta farmer who killed her abusive husband in 2011 and then was sentenced to 18 years in prison. It examines her treatment within the justice system and the following efforts to get her sentence reduced. Jana and her team did a fantastic job in that whole series.
I got to listen to it. Woo-wee. So that was a lot crammed into one day.
Yeah.
That is for sure, but it was excellent. Yeah, tell us about you, sis.
It started off with James Cridland. He releases a daily newsletter about podcasting in the world, and I subscribe to it. So I was really excited to hear him speak. He talked about where we've been and where we are going. It was a great overview of the history of podcasting. The second panel that we had that day was the algorithm versus the audience. Who are we really creating for? This was another panel of some intense insights. The majority of the podcasters that were there are passionately creating for the audience, but recognizing that the algorithm plays a role. It was an insightful conversation that we were exposed to, and how other creators might be focusing some of their energy on the distribution and audience growth through algorithm recommendations.
But also, it was interesting because there was I can't remember who was hosting that panel. I can't remember, but she said, her production company started to go down the rabbit hole of trying to produce for the algorithm, and realized that when they were doing that, it really started to get them away from what their podcast truly was, what they really wanted it to be. And so it lost its,
it lost its way, she said.
Yeah, like it lost its way and lost a
little bit of its compass.
Passion. I don't know if that's the word. I'm like, it just lost like its. Yeah. And so then they had to kind of regroup and realign with that. And so she really said, following the algorithm to a certain degree, okay, fine, but really you can lose sight of what your podcast is about, which I thought that was very interesting as well, to hear her say that actually, yeah, they kind of chase the algorithm, and what it ended up doing for their podcast. Again, just shows, being authentic, doing what you do, natural growth is far superior than you're far better off by being true to what your podcast is, almost like creating a mission statement and then having to revisit it, like, would probably be useful in a way.
One of the panelists works for a podcast hosting platform, and I really wanted to meet her after her being on the panel, and that was an exciting thing that happened in the afternoon that I got a chance to meet her. The afternoon was filled with concurrent sessions. Chrissy and I planned to split up, but I railroaded that. And it's just a funny little story about the lady interacting with the lady that was on that panel. So I don't know if you guys are much in believing in manifesting, but on Friday morning before I picked up Chrissy from the airport, I looked at myself in the mirror and I just asked the universe to allow me to have an interaction with somebody that has a podcasting network that's beyond us, right? That's big and connected, and give me that opportunity. And on that afternoon, I was very excited to go into a session. And a little sidebar, I sat down and the host of Crime Story sat down beside me on my right. And then the lady that was on the panel sat down on the side of me to the left. And I was fangirling because the host of the CBC's Crime Story was on one side. And then I sat there and just thanked the universe for providing. And after the session was done, I had an opportunity to just quickly ask my question to this woman who has a lot of access to the podcast industry. And so that was probably the highlight of my entire PodSummit experience, was having this conversation, because I think after a day and a half, Christy and I started to see that, okay, I think we want to grow this podcast, and having this conversation with her helped me understand what we would need to take if we wanted to be in that network, which is actually nothing, because it's a podcasting hosting platform. So we already have our podcast hosted on one platform, but it was amazing to talk to somebody who has a team of people in Canada that deals with creators, that supports creators and helping them grow their audience. So that was very exciting for me. Chrissy and I attended a YouTube session, so that was very exciting. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I think it was beneficial for both of us to be in that YouTube session, because that is where we are going next for sure. Chrissy's already started in the back end of YouTube to get our little channel set up. I am trying to get our RSS feed to it. So hopefully we will be there maybe for this episode, if we can get it happening, that'd be awesome. So, but this leads to my third question for everybody. Do you want to see videos of us? I'm torn about this because it means a little bit more effort for us. So, like, you'll see us sitting at our desks with our very busy backgrounds, probably messy buns, and probably wearing pajamas. But, because we're going to have to get dressed so we don't look like villains, so it just makes me feel like kind of weird. Like, I can't just show up in how I'm feeling. I feel like I have to like put on a little bit of a, like, at the very least, clothes that I can't show up in my position.
Well, you've never shown up naked yet, so we're doing pretty okay.
Yeah, I know. But anyhow, that was my third question is, are folks really, how they're listening? Right now you're just listening to us. But if you are regular podcast listeners, would you want to watch us sitting at our desk talking to each other? And if you want video. Anyways, that'll be our third question. So yeah, that ended our workshops. There was one additional panel that day. And then I took Chrissy to the airport and then drove home. We missed the last podcast recording of Sick Boy, which is another great Canadian podcast, and recommend that our listeners go check it out. And I'll link it in our show notes. But that was our 2 days at the Pod Summit.
Yeah, it was incredible. I really enjoyed being there with everybody. I enjoyed connecting with podcasters. I enjoyed all the topics of conversation, all the panels, all the people there. It was awesome to really. It was just awesome to just reaffirm that we are on the right path. We truly are doing it. I felt so good. My brain was just. There was so much information. It was amazing, but in such a good way. Like, I don't even know if my brain has been like pushed that full of stuff in a long time. So it was just so good. And the people that put it on, bless their hearts. Oh my gosh. They just did it so well. So professionally. Everything was on schedule. Everything was on time. They had great people there. It was awesome. So I can't wait to see what they're going to be up to for next year.
I emailed them to say thank you, because this was a great conference. The agenda was so spectacularly curated with top Canadian talent. I was so impressed. It was a small conference, but I truly felt like the who's who of the Canadian podcasting community was in the room. And it totally afforded Chrissy and I the opportunity to talk to people about our podcast that we would normally never have had access to. So I too am very much looking forward to attending next year, sis.
Yes, we'll be there. By that time, we'll have had a full year of podcasting under our belts.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I really think that kind of wraps it up for our summary of Pod Summit.
Yeah, it's definitely motivating for us to get moving on with our podcast. We will have the 3 questions, which were, the first one was...
Question number 1, if you aren't on Apple or Spotify, or if you're not a subscriber to those, where do you listen to your podcasts?
Yeah, that's question number 1.
And then question 2, Sissy?
Do you guys want to see us do lives? That was our second question.
And question number 3 was, do you want to see us video? When you're viewing our podcast, are you big on video or are you more so listening? Because they also made this comment at the Pod Summit was, podcasting is something for your ears while your eyes are busy.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, but there is a trend definitely towards video, and
yeah,
that's why we're asking the question.
Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for that. So shall we roll into our peaks, pits, and plans?
Yes, you first. I've gone the last couple times.
Okay, I do have a couple pits. Nothing major, of course, but number one thing is that I wear Shock's ear wireless headphones, and I forgot my charging case in the Calgary airport, so that made me sad. But I was so distraught about it that I ordered myself new ones that night because I use them every single day. So they got delivered today.
You didn't even tell me about that. That's
Oh,
a
I
bummer.
didn't?
No.
Yeah, I didn't even really realize till the next day when I went to go plug them in. I was just like, man, where the hell is this thing? So, or I guess I noticed that night when I went to charge them. So that was annoying. Anyways, well, I know I've told you guys about my cats and the mouse trap situation, and this is the time of year where we get mice. And today, when I got home from work, I don't know what made me I don't even know why I went into the laundry room, but that's where I have the mouse trap set up. But there's anyways, that's where I don't know if they come in from the dryer vent. I'm not sure. But anyways, this is where the mouse trap gets set. And I just happened to look in where it's usually set, and the mouse trap wasn't there. I'm like, where is the fucking mouse trap, cat? Like, show me the way. Where did you put this thing? And I just thought, this little asshole probably put it in my bed, and I'm not kidding you, you guys. He took me there, and he was so proud, and he showed me the mouse trap on the end of my bed with a dead mouse in it. So,
Ugh.
2 pits. Honestly, this is country living, you guys. I know you guys are probably thinking, like, where does she live? But I live in a resort town. We're in the country. Mice are a thing. And I have a dirt floor crawl space under my house, so it's challenging. It's a challenge. So, anyways, there's that story. That's it, though. Nothing too major. So, okay, my peaks, of course, PodSummit, major highlight. That's going to be a highlight for a while. And oh my gosh, seeing Stacey, and we just frickin' had a great time, some good laughs. Like, just it was good. It was just great. And then on Monday night, we had our women's group emergence, but we are doing one in person a month and then one on Zoom. And so our Zoom one, we did a breath work session. And I don't know if you guys have ever done a breathwork session, but they're pretty amazing. But I feel like during the time, I felt this sense of renewal, this calmness. It was great. But then the last 2 days, I have been like just knocked on my ass through the integration part of it. I've had a bit of a dull headache. I've been very, very tired, going to bed early, whatever. But that's part of the integration of doing this type of work. So I know that it's what it's doing, and I know why it's happening. It's just now listening to my body, sleeping, drinking lots of water, spending time outside. Tonight I'm gonna have a hot bath. Yeah, there's a big expansion happening. Gotta have a contraction go with that. But anyway, my plans for the week. I don't have any plans, which I'm thankful for, because I think I'm still like riding a little bit of a high from Pod Summit, but also like starting to come down from it too. So I'm pretty tired, as well as this like integration from the breath work. So I'm pretty tired. I'll be working a little bit late Friday night, and then I have no plans Saturday, no plans Sunday, but I have to be up early Monday morning to go to Foam Lake, and I have to work there. So I'll be working, I have to do hair in Foam Lake, and then I'll be going to the farm after that for my final. It should be the last time that I go there. I think I'll have everything dialed in. I mean, there will be some stuff, and I imagine I'll probably get out there at some point again. But for dealing with everything right now, like I could go out there every week and do something. So I just had to set a time that this would be the last weekend of me going out there. And so I'm going to honor that. Monday will be the last day that I go out there. I'm sure it's going to be pretty bittersweet. I haven't even really had a chance to talk to Mark too much the last few times. I wouldn't mind trying to have a bit of a conversation, but he'll likely be working for the RM that day unless he's harvesting. So we'll see what comes about with that. But my plan is to just kind of wrap everything up and start to close that chapter. It may be an emotional time. I'm not too sure. So far, I'm feeling pretty good. I think it's because I know every week I'm still going out there. So now that I've set this in my head, like, Kate, this is what you're doing. This is going to be the last time. Like, maybe it'll feel differently. Just going through the motions. But that, I think, is going to do it for me, I think. So your turn, Sissy.
Well, I'm going to start with my pits, and I also have a pit this week, but this one's kind of big, and it's kind of just rumbly in my life right now. I was out for lunch with a friend this week, and things really took a weird turn, to say the least. And she's going through some challenging times right now, and it felt like she was in crisis. And so I suggested that maybe she get therapy. That didn't really sit well with her. And I'm acutely aware of, or I'm very self-aware that sometimes my presence may not come off as the most empathetic, something that I've been contemplating for a couple years and probably can do some personal work on. But my heart with my friends is always there. Even though I might not say the right thing, like I might not verbally express it in the right way, but I feel that I am so loyal and I show up, and I might be quiet. I might not even know what to say, but I feel like that's just showing up is what people often need. I feel like I invest a lot of my energy into my friend group, and yeah, I was totally blindsided by that interaction on Monday. So I'm still reeling from it and not really sure how to wrap my head around it, but I don't think I need any of that energy in my life at all. But moving on to my peaks, though, lots and lots of peaks. PodSummit #1. Chrissy and I had just a fabulous weekend together. It was awesome. I finished organizing my office. To our regular listeners who who have heard my stress about my office for, I don't know, almost a year. This is very exciting news to me, is to have a clean, organized office. So I painted it, moved all my furniture around. I have a few things that I need to still dispense with, but overall, I'm feeling very good about my new office. And I had an appointment with my therapist this week, so that was exciting. I decided that I would try and see her every 6 weeks or so, and for a while, just to work on some other things, because I have the capacity right now, mentally, physically, to finally dig into some things. So yeah, I was excited to hang out with Sarah for a little bit. And then plans. Sean and I are going to Whistler this weekend. So I have not had one weekend home in September. I was in Regina for 2. Then I was in Calgary with Chrissy. And now we're off to Whistler this weekend. So September has been very, very busy, but I'm super pumped for Whistler. Obviously, it's Whistler. Like, it's an exciting place to go. But more importantly, it's the company I'm going to be spending my weekend with that I am so very excited. This is the Regina bike crew that Sean would ride with, but also the wives. And the wives get along incredibly well, and I cannot wait to spend a couple days with the babes. And it's our first time actually doing this. It'll be super good. Yeah. Anyways, you want to tell listeners where they can find us?
So, of course, you guys know you can find Sister Social Call on Instagram. You can find myself on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. I love it. Love the social media. You can find Stacey on Facebook and LinkedIn. And don't forget to help answer those questions. We're going to put it up on social media. If you guys can email us at sisterssocialcall@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on and what you think about those 3 questions. Please answer them so we can make this podcast even better for our listeners. And I think that's going to do it for us tonight.
Thanks, everybody. Love you, sissy.
I love you, sis.